Hello, everyone. Happy Tuesday. I'm still kind of getting organized here a little bit, so bear with me. I hope you're all having a great start to your day. There's some light on the situation. Woo! All right. Let's get some more light on the situation. There we go. Okay. All right. Happy Tuesday, everyone. I hope you're, having a creative start to your week. I certainly am. I have so many projects to share with you today, which is kind of why I'm a little bit out of breath, because I wanted to make sure I had everything good to go. I'm going to forget something, but we have a lot to go over because Valentine's Day is just around the corner. So I thought today we could talk about stitching on cards, creating embroidered cards, decorative stitching on cards, creating fabric postcards, all kinds of things that we can, put in an envelope, send to our loved ones. It'll get there in time if we do it this week, I think, fingers crossed. So I thought it would be a good time to talk about creating our own Valentines. All right. Now, before we really get started with all of that, thank you for coming on and saying hello. Hi, Betsy. Good to see you. Hi, Crystal. All right. Everybody's coming on and saying hello. Make sure that you are saying hello because I have a really great prize for one lucky viewer who is commenting and sharing out the post and liking our Facebook page, subscribing to our YouTube channel. These are the types of things you need to do to be automatically eligible to win today's prize. And I knew I was going to forget something. And guess what? It was an image of today's prize. So let me go ahead and grab that for you so that you could see what I'm giving away. It is an embroidery design collection that we are going to be using today on one of our cards. So let me go ahead and show it to you. This collection actually comes with two different styles of embroidery. One is called a modern style and one is called a traditional style because it's our Conver Heart Machine Embroidery Collection. So there's actually 20 designs included in the entire collection because you get 10 in the traditional conversation style heart style and 10 in this more modern style. So let me go ahead and try and show that to you here. It has a $34.99 value, this embroidery collection, because you get all 20 designs. All right, here we go. Bear with me. I'm bringing it on. Conversation Heart. So the reason it's Conversation Heart is because it's like a regular conversation heart, except the little phrases are sewing puns. So we have you so fine, let's sew, love you so in love, QT quilter. So you can kind of see in this image, the more modern style is like the funky lettering. And then the traditional style is that block lettering that you see most often on an actual conversation heart candy. So with this collection, you can either choose just the modern style, 10 designs, or just the traditional style, 10 designs, or you can get all 20, or you can grab this up with a thread palette as well. So as I mentioned, the entire collection of designs is $34.99. The thread palette is $47.99, and you get 10 spools of thread with the thread palette. Here is an image of that. And it has all these great pastel colors that we most associate with conversation hearts and Valentine's Day. There we go. And if you'd like to see the thread colors inside, of course, let me show you that as well. These are the beautiful threads. So you have your yellow pastels, teals, lavenders, pinks, and kind of a creamish white color as well in that thread palette. So if you grab up the palette, you'll get all 10 thread spools and 20 embroidery designs. So that's what I'm going to be showing off today in our first project. As I mentioned, I have a lot to show you. So If you want to start off with more like a simple style card, I have you covered. And then we're going to go all the way up to doing hand embroidery, more machine embroidery, some quilting. So you can really, decide how much you want to invest in this card that you're making, how much time you want to invest, how much materials, how fancy you want to get. And hopefully there's something for everybody today. Let's see. I also have another project because when we did our lovely earrings webcast a few weeks ago with Sheila Ryan of Designs by Baby Moon, so many people came to that webcast and had great suggestions for other uses for the earrings designs. Some people said, you know what? I don't really wear earrings anymore, or I don't wear dangly earrings. But I'm going to use these designs for XYZ. So I'm going to show you a project I did utilizing that design collection from our webcast to dress something up that also makes a great Valentine gift. So that's what's on schedule today. See, it is a lot to talk about. First and foremost, though, I want to make sure everybody is registered for our 3D spring wall hanging with Designs by Juju. This is one of our longer format embroidery sessions where you get lots of video, step-by-step, whole project. It's completely self-guided by you, so you can choose which videos you want to watch when and how you want to navigate through the course, or the lessons rather, to make your own wall hanging. So this is all done in the hoop of your embroidery machine. You're going to create all these different 3D freestanding elements and then combine them together with buttons and buttonholes and ribbons. And it's so adorable. You can also customize this wall hanging in a lot of different ways, depending on how you want to display it. You also get 4 design sizes, so you can create a large wall hanging for your front door, let's say, or a smaller scale one, gift it to a friend, or keep it on your back porch or something like this. The sign that is on the bottom of this wall hanging is also customizable. So in this picture, you'll see it says Home Sweet Home. There's also a version that says Welcome Spring, and there's also a blank design. And Julie Trieb of Designs by Juju is going to show you in an extensive video how to customize that sign so you can say whatever you want on that sign. It can be your last name. It can say Home Tweet Home instead of Home Sweet Home. All kinds of different things you can fit on that sign to make it work for multiple seasons, occasions, people, places, things. You get the idea. So I hope that you will join us for the 3D spring wall hanging. Now, we do have a limited number of kits still available for this event as well. If you're interested in a kit, I would grab one up today to make sure that you get your hands on one, because once they're gone, they're gone. These limited edition kits have this beautiful Riley Blake spring-themed fabric collection. It's a collection that Julie Trieb curated for this project. And as you know, fabrics, they just come and go so quickly. So I want to make sure everybody who wants a kit can get one. And this session activates next Tuesday. I just had to double check. It is next Tuesday. Man, January seems like the longest month ever. And then once February hits, all of a sudden it's over like lightning. So we really got to, take advantage of everything that February has to offer. But anyways, this session and all of its videos and all of its content and all of its lessons and all of the designs that you get with purchase of the event registration, which is a $20 value, by the way. This all goes into your account next Tuesday. So if you have pre-registered, you will get an email that says, hey, all the videos are ready for you. Go on to the event page, grab up your designs, and get stitching. All right, so it's not a live event. You don't have to be live next Tuesday. That's just the day that everything becomes available to you. All right, so I hope that I explained that well. I was a little discombobulated this morning trying to get everything ready. Another thing I want to mention, speaking of February, February is National Embroidery Month, everyone. That's right. National Embroidery Month is like a month of holidays here at Sulky. And we celebrate every chance we get because embroidery is one of the sewing world's greatest gifts. And the fact that we can do it on our home machines has really just made so many things possible, right? We could personalize our sewing creations in so many ways. Even if we use the same pattern as somebody else, we can change it up with our embroidery machines. Now we can make entire projects in the hoop of our embroidery machines. So we're going to be celebrating all month long with all kinds of, you guessed it, embroidery. From hand embroidery to machine embroidery, there's really going to be something for everybody so that we can celebrate this wonderful National Embroidery Month. Whew. All right. Ooh, also, in the spirit of celebrating National Embroidery Month, we have a amazing giveaway that we are doing. You'll find it at sulky.com. Let me just make sure that it's right there on the home page. If you scroll down a little bit on sulky.com, I'm going to show you what it looks like so that you can navigate there. We are celebrating National Embroidery Month with this amazing giveaway. We are going to give away a 40-weight rayon embroidery thread starter collection and the full stabilizer starter kit, which has a $327 value. Yes. All you have to do is click on this graphic on our homepage to enter. It'll take you to the page to enter. You fill out your information, and there are multiple entry points. So you can enter by liking our Facebook page. You can enter by getting our email newsletter. You can enter by sharing the giveaway with your friends, and you'll have a wonderful chance of winning. So this is an amazing prize. You can stock up your sewing room for all the embroidery adventures that you are going to take on during the month of February and beyond. So make sure you enter to win. I want to see all of your names on the entry list. Not that I get to see that or anything, but you get the idea. All right. So National Embroidery Month. I know, it's exciting. So give me a thumbs up if you have already registered for our 3D wall hanging embroidery sewing session. And let me know in the comments. Lots of people, Betsy says, wow, everybody needs to enter. I already entered. Amazing. That is a fantastic prize. It really, really is. All right. I mean, that's every single stabilizer from the stabilizer line in various quantities. You'll just, what will you start with first? All right. And yes, this month we do have an extra day. It's leap year. So that means one extra day to celebrate National Embroidery Month. Love it. All right. Lots of you giving a thumbs up that you have registered. Michelle has already received her kit. So you guys are ready to go. I love it. Okay. So let's get to our first project of today since we have so many things to talk about. The first project I'm going to go over is a very simple embroidered card. We're not actually going to embroider on the cardstock for this first card because this is what I'm going to be calling our super simple card. You can even use test stitch outs to create this card. So if you run a test stitch out and it looks great, there's no sense in throwing that away, even if it's on a little piece of scrap fabric. Let's turn it into a card. Let's layer it with a different fabric, put it on some cardstock, mail it off to somebody special, write a little note inside. It's a great, great use of little bits and pieces of fabrics. You can even do like a fabric collage. decoupage it, embroider that sucker, send it off, and you've added a little touch of homemade to a card. Now, I don't know about you, but I absolutely hate buying cards. I love looking at cards. I love reading cards. I appreciate the people that make cards, but they are $5, $6, $8, $10, $13 sometimes. It drives me batty. You know, my kids will get invited to a birthday party. They always want to get a card. Of course we need a card. I really make them, but I encourage them to make their own card. First off, it's more personal. And secondly, you can save like $10 on the birthday gift. I'm just saying. So dive into your fabric scraps and make something homemade instead of buying up all these cards. Now, if you love to buy cards, by all means, keep buying the cards because, you know, I also love those. Don't get me wrong. All right. So yes, cards cost so much. I send them money in a used card. Yep. That's the other thing too, is if you receive a really fantastic card, sometimes people just like write their name on it. You know, they leave the message that was printed in the card and then they just sign their name. Well, that's fine and good. You can always cut off the really cute artwork on the front of the card and then add your embroidery or fabric to the back of it and mail it off in an envelope, kind of like a postcard. So you're like repurposing that card, etc. You can also use those cards and put your fabric over the top of either the inside message or the outside message to kind of breathe new life into it, recycle it, re-gift it, but make it new, and then send that off to somebody else. So lots of ideas for recycling, repurposing those types of cards, or just starting from scratch. So for this first embroidered card, as I mentioned, I used our Conver Heart Machine Embroidery Collection and palette, and I chose the QT quilter design because I'm going to gift this to one of my friends who happens to be the cutest quilter in the land. So I thought it was perfect for her. First off, here's what the finished card looks like. So as I mentioned, super simple, using our scrap bin, and I happen to have this piece of pink cardstock. I went into my daughter's art bin, grabbed this piece of pink cardstock, folded it in half, and I used that as the basis or the foundation of the rest of the card. So for the QT quilter design, I embroidered it onto a piece of Sulky felty. Then I cut that out, put it on top of a piece of scrap fabric, did some decorative stitching, and attached it to the card. Super, super simple. So with Sulky felty, you guys, I've been talking about felty for so long now. It is my favorite medium for machine embroidery because it's not that stiff craft felt. It still has a nice hand to it, movability, softness, like a wool felt for a fraction of the price. And it is manufactured to accept tons of needle penetrations. So you can add one of these Conver Heart designs, which has a ton of stitching. The whole heart is made of stitching, so it's a fill design. You can embroider that super dense, lots of stitching design onto the felty, and it won't pucker or buckle or anything. The fibers open up and they take all of that thread, and it's, dare I say, a perfect result every time. So what I did was I used a magnetic hoop for hooping the felty because the felty is obviously heavier weight than our traditional fabric. And I used a Sulky Tear Easy stabilizer behind it. And in a standard hoop, that would have been a little bit too much for the standard hoop to hoop. So instead, I used a magnetic hoop so that I could hoop both layers, get them nice and flat between those magnets, and embroider the design. I embroidered a much larger piece of felty because, quite honestly, I wasn't really sure what I was going to do with the card yet, but I knew I wanted this embroidery. Now, had I known that I was going to cut it down pretty small and use it as like an applique, essentially, I decided, or I could have cut my felty much smaller and stuck it to the tear easy in the hoop using some KK2000 and embroidered the design just fine. But you'll see in these photos, I used my magnetic hoop, sandwiched the felty with the tear easy, and simply embroidered the design. There's only 3 thread changes in these designs, so you can choose from the yellow shades, the pink shades, the lavender shades. You can see in the thread collection, each color has like a light shade and a dark shade. That is so that our hearts have a little bit of that 3D dimension to them. So you can kind of choose the heart color that you want for each heart. There is a color chart that comes with this design collection as well. So if you want to go with the intended color of the design, by all means, you can do that as well. All right. So let's see. We've embroidered the design onto the felty. You can see it's completely flat, no puckering, no buckling of the fabric. It's absolutely perfect. You just want to make sure that you are trimming up your jump threads with each thread change. And really the only jump threads in these designs are those in the lettering. So I'm just cleaning up the threads using my curved tip squeezers that I love so much. And then we're going to remove the felty from our hoop and simply tear away the stabilizer. All right, so now we can decide what size we want that felty to be. I really just eyeballed it. I cut about 1 inch along or beyond the edge of the heart on all sizes and trimmed it to a square. You certainly can do whatever is in your heart for your card, but this is what I did. So now I've got my square applique, and I wanted to add another colorful piece of fabric behind it. So went into my fabric stash. I found this really cute heart print fabric that I didn't have enough to do much of anything with. And I cut it a little bit smaller than half of that cardstock because, as you know, we have folded the cardstock in half so that it acts like a card that we can open and write something inside. So now I've got my fabrics all trimmed up and ready to applique. So I'm going to attach that embroidered felty piece to my background fabric using a little bit of KK2000 so that it doesn't shift. And then I'm just going to applique it on. So here you can also have a lot of fun with your decorative stitches. You might have a heart stitch. You might have a little serpentine stitch. I did a blanket stitch. I love the look of a blanket stitch, especially when something is square. I don't know, reminds me of a little quilt. So I chose a blanket stitch, which quite honestly, sometimes I think is rather boring because we use blanket stitches all the time for applique. So maybe I should have thought outside the box and done something different for my decorative stitching on the appliques. Now, if you do go with a heart stitch, or I have a sunshine or a sunburst stitch on my machine. I have like over 300 decorative stitches, and I really only use a very, very small percentage of them. So here is our chance to go through our decorative stitch menu and find some fun stitches to use. I always recommend, though, to do a test stitch. You can use your scraps of felty left over from embroidery and do some test stitches. That way you know the movement of the needle for the stitch. You know where it's going to stop and start. Is it going to start on the right edge of the fabric or the left? What have you. Always do a test stitch out. Fiddle with the length and width of the stitches until you get it where you want it. And then go ahead and do your applique stitches. All right. I didn't use any stabilizer underneath the quilting cotton fabric, that heart print, because that felty is so stable that I knew that I wasn't going to get any puckering or anything like that on the quilting cotton fabric. But a lot of the times for applique, I will add some additional stabilizer behind the background fabric. A lot of the times I go with soft and sheer, which is our mesh cutaway stabilizer. Because it's so lightweight, it doesn't change the hand of the fabric. It just adds a little bit of thread count to it. so that when you are doing those decorative multi-directional stitches, your fabric doesn't pucker inside of those stitches. You know, sometimes you do a zigzag and you'll get a little lump of fabric between the zig and the zag. It's because your fabric isn't stabilized properly or enough. So try adding a layer of stabilizer behind it. You can even use some more Tear Easy depending on the type of your stitch and the removal method. But since we're putting this on cardstock, you could add a layer of Tear Easy. And even if some of the Tear Easy doesn't come away beyond your decorative stitching or between, you know, your stitches on the back side, you can just leave it in there because we are just going to attach this to a piece of cardstock. Now, if you were attaching this to a piece of fabric, you wanted it to be nice and flowy, I would go with something like Soft and Sheer or even Soft and Sheer Extra, which is a fusible lightweight mesh stabilizer. That'll stay with your project over the life of it, through washing, wearing, what have you. And it's nice and lightweight, but will help keep your applique stitches nice and beautiful on the right side. Alrighty. So now you could see I've got my blanket stitch. I'm completing it around the corners. Speaking of the corners, that's also another great thing to practice when you've chosen a decorative stitch. Go around a corner so you can see when you want to stop your needle with your needle down and pivot the fabric. Because we don't want, let's say we're working with a blanket stitch, we don't really want our blanket stitches to intersect at the corner. We still want them to be nice blanket stitches. We're just going around to the next edge. Does this make sense? Sometimes you can get a funky looking corner if you have like a swirly or even like a heart-shaped decorative stitch that you've chosen, and then you choose to go around the corner, and then all of a sudden your hearts are overlapping. So you can do a number of different things depending on the capabilities of your sewing machine to make sure that doesn't happen. You can do like a starting and end stitch. You can even do a programmed stitch for the length that you are sewing on certain sewing machines. But I just like to practice so I know when to stop and start. And I can always advance the needle a little bit so that I've cleared, you know, the edge of that previous decorative stitch when I round that corner. All right. So now I have my first applique done, and now I'm going to applique that back fabric, the backing fabric, to my cardstock. So I'm going to, again, use that KK2000 and stick my fabric to the cardstock. And you're going to want to spray your fabric to put it on the cardstock rather than spraying the cardstock, just so that the cardstock doesn't absorb a bunch of the liquid. You want it on the fabric just to make it a little tacky so you can stick it down where you want it on the card. So I centered it, but I positioned it a little bit lower on that half of the card because I wanted to do another decorative stitch on top through the cardstock only. And I'll show you that in a minute. All right. So now I'm just going to do the same old blanket stitch to applique that fabric to the cardstock. And somebody just asked, do you use an old needle for cardstock? And actually I don't, but I will say I change my needle quite frequently for my sewing projects. So I start this project with a new needle, and then when I go to start another project, I generally swap out my needle again, depending on how much I've used it. So I didn't worry about using an older needle for the cardstock. You could also try a Microtex needle for cardstock because it has such a nice slim point to it that it's going to pierce through that cardstock with the smallest hole possible for your thread weight. That way you're not creating these large perforations. You also want to lengthen your stitch length a bit so that your stitches are not right on top of each other, which is what is going to perforate your card. So go with at least a 3.0, even a 3.5 stitch length so that your stitches are nice and far away from each other and it won't perforate your card, just creating that hole for your thread to go through. So I did my blanket stitch all the way around that background fabric. And now I went through my decorative stitch menu and look, I have found the heart stitch. So you can see on my stitch menu, I also have stars, I have little candies, I have flowers, I have balloons. This is just a small sampling of the stitches that I have on my particular machine. So definitely go through your stitch menu and see what you have available to you. I did adjust this one a little bit to make my hearts a little bit smaller. I practiced it on a scrap piece of felty. And then all I did was stitch a border on the top of my card right above where I put those appliques. And I did it in that yellow embroidery thread so it would kind of tie in the look of my Conver heart onto the card. And this is also a really fun project for kids to get involved with at the sewing machine. They can just do lines of decorative stitching all across the cardstock, and they've created their own card. And then on the inside, they can write a message to their teacher or their friends or their grandma and grandpa, etc. So it's a really great kind of entry into using the sewing machine, picking those fun decorative stitches that we all want to sew, but especially kids. My kids are always wanting to look at those to do something special with. So this is just kind of a fun way to get them into sewing, get them, working the foot pedal and kind of watching the needle and watching what it does. So just a fun little, additional embellishment for the card. And then on the inside of the card, of course, you will write whatever message you would like to the recipient and then place it in the envelope and ship it off for your Valentine. So this is a really simple card. If you don't have machine embroidery capabilities, you could find another fabric scrap and fussy cut it so that one of the motifs in the fabric is centered on your center applique and place that on the background. As I mentioned before, you could do a fabric collage, and you can even add like a decoupage medium to the top of the fabric pieces. You don't even have to sew them together. You could do a fabric collage of little bits and pieces and odds and ends, do the decoupage medium, and then decorative stitch in lines over the top of it, and there you have your handmade card. So many different ways we can make cards with our fabric scraps, our sewing machines, and machine embroidery. All right, so lots of people have come in with questions. Oh, maybe it's just comments. Let's see. Yep, Sharon is talking about stitching embroidery designs directly onto cardstock, and I'm going to get to that momentarily as well as we move our way up on the difficulty scale, which, quite honestly, I don't think they're that much more difficult. It's just that you need more equipment. All right, so we'll get to that. Let's see. Love Soft and Sheer Extra. Thank you, Mary. KK2000 is great. Cute card idea. Okay, I just wanted to make sure I was addressing any questions if I missed them. All right, so keep your questions coming because as long as you are engaging with the post today, you will be automatically eligible to be our winner for the day, and you will win the Conver Heart Machine Embroidery Collection valued at $34.99, which comes with 20 Conver Heart designs. So you can make lots of cards, lots of Valentines, all sorts of things. So keep your questions coming, keep your comments coming, give me those great emojis, somehow engage with me during this live stream, and you will be automatically eligible to win that. All right, so the next project, I'm going to switch it up from cards just for a little bit because as I mentioned earlier, when we did our lovely earrings webcast, which is always available on demand for viewing, it's a free webcast. All you need to do is register for it and you will receive a free earrings design. It's a little heart earring. And if you grab up the kit for our lovely earrings webcast, you will get the stabilizer, a collection of 9 earring designs. You will get tons of sulky thread, some needles. You'll be well on your way to making earrings and zipper pulls, which is what I have made here. So I'm actually calling these charms because not only can you use them for zipper pulls, But you can use them to make little key rings, charms for bags. You can put them on swivel clips, all kinds of things to just add a little something special to an otherwise very easy project. So this is a zipper bag that I designed for one of our mystery boxes. Our self-care mystery box, which came out around the holidays, had a pattern for this very simple zipper bag. But I think this zipper bag is a little bit more special than most because it has this nice boxed bottom, so it stands on its own. It has a little bit more structure, a little bit more room inside of it, and it also has a high-end metal-looking zipper, which it just kind of kicks it up a notch. And, of course, the fabric is all pieced together and quilted using Sulky 30-weight blendables thread. So, fully lined, no exposed seams. That zipper is inside of the lining fabric as well. So, nice and finished look to it. So, I took this pattern. Again, this comes with purchase of our self-care mystery box, along with all these materials and a whole lot more. If you're interested in that mystery box, we have a few still available as well, so you can get this pattern and all of these fabrics, threads, zipper, etc. I digress. So I started with this pattern, and I made the exact same pattern, but a little bit different way. So I have just a regular nylon zipper. I had it in my stash, and it happened to match this fabric perfectly. Happy accident. So I did the same construction, but as you can see, I did not piece my fabrics. I added a little bit of lace ribbon trim that I also found in my stash. A little piece that isn't big enough to really do much of anything with. Just applicate it to the front fabric to add a little something special. And then I've got my freestanding lace zipper pull charm that I created from the earrings designs. So this is just one of the earrings designs. You could see it's in two parts. So this little heart is the freebie design that you get simply by registering for that webcast. So if you didn't register for it, you didn't join us, make sure you register for it and you'll get this little earring design for free. So this little earring design I have attached to a larger earring design using a little jump ring. I have another jump ring at the top that I have attached to the end of my zipper, where my little zipper hole is at the end. And now I have a zipper charm. I hot glued a little bead, again, found it in my stash, happened to be the right colors, hot glued it to the bottom of that heart just to add another little something. And we have our little zipper pull charm. So I'm going to show you how I I'll walk you through it with photographs. All right. So I just think that freestanding lace trim, things like this, it reminds me of all the doilies we used to work with at school when we were making handmade Valentines way back in the day when they used to give us a whole day to just create and make Valentines. Whatever happened to this? Telling you, now my kids have a 10-minute Valentine party where they're basically just throwing candy at each other and then they come home. It's so sad. What's happening? All right. So anyways, let's get to the freestanding lace zipper pulls. First off, we're going to hoop our stabilizer. For this project, we're using 2 layers of Fabra-Solvi stabilizer, which is a fabric-like water-soluble stabilizer. We're using 2 layers so that the stabilizer can support the dense stitching of the earrings. There are lots of underlay stitching that goes on for these because they have to stand alone. There's no fabric involved in them. They are all made out of thread. So you could see here on this image that I have 2 layers of Fabra-Solvi and I've placed pins through both layers on all 4 edges of my hoop. This is just going to kind of help the stabilizer from shifting on itself. Another thing you can do is spray between the layers with the KK2000, which is going to help those layers from shifting as well. Just another idea. Or you could do both things. All right, so after we have our stabilizer, we're just simply going to embroider our earrings designs. As I mentioned, if you grab up the kit for Lovely Earrings Webcast, you will get tons of thread, you will get the Fabrisolve stabilizer, and you will get 9 earring design files to choose from. 9 pairs of earrings in different hearts, some with butterflies, some with flowers, some with multiple parts, some that are single, some that have loops for the jump rings, some that don't. So all kinds of ways to mix and match your hearts together. So this is just one of the styles. So you can see they stitch out together the pair. Now I only need one for my zipper pull. So I'll get to that in a minute. This is really, even if you only need one, you should stitch out both of them because you can gift another one away, maybe even in a different way. All right. So once we have embroidered the design, I also wanted to mention I added Sulky poly sparkle thread just for the gold portions of this butterfly. You can kind of see it in this photo here, but I've got gold metallic thread acting as the center and the little side embellishment on the wings of the butterfly. And I did this because during the webcast, so many people said, can we add glitz and glitter and sparkle to these using Sulky thread? So I thought, I'm going to give it a go. I did not choose that thread for the background stitching because it stitches so many different directions and such a heavy underlay stitching. I didn't want to have sort of, I don't really want to say crispier earrings, but when there's metallic involved, it's going to have a different feel to it than the poly deco thread that was used for the background of the earrings. So I just used it for the little portion of the wings of the butterfly, but you could certainly use it for all of the different parts of the butterfly, use a different poly sparkle thread. And I would use poly sparkle rather than using like a hollow shimmer or sliver metallic because the stitches are so tight and close together. Even though poly sparkle is a 30 weight thread, it handles these satin stitches just fine. So this is kind of why I did this test with these zipper pulls so that I could tell you all that it does work well, but I would only use it for the little embellishment portions and not the background stitching. All right. So now I've got, you can see the sparkle a little bit better in this picture, but now I have my 2 earrings files, which are 2 parts each, and I just trim the Fabrisolve a little bit beyond the edges of the stitches. Now I can remove the Fabrisolve by rinsing the finished freestanding lace under warm water. You can also put it in a little bowl of warm water, let most of the Fabrisolve dissolve, use your hands a little bit to kind of make sure that it's worked out of the thread, and then give it a final rinse and let it dry flat on a towel. So when it's dry, we get to assemble these together. Now, again, with the freestanding lace earrings kit, it comes with earring hardware. It comes with a bunch of jump rings. So you could create a pair of earrings, and then you can also use your jump rings to create some zipper pulls or charms as well. So we are going to now construct the zipper bag, and I'm just going to give you a quick overview of this because this pattern does come with our mystery box. But these are the materials that I chose. My zipper wasn't quite long enough for the pattern, so I added just some zipper extensions using matching fabric, and I just sewed those pieces of the zipper extension on both sides of the zipper so I would have finished edges. So I have a little extension on the front, a little extension on the back, and I'm kind of sandwiching the zipper ends between those fabric pieces. Now my zipper is long enough. So that's a good hack if you're trying to use up some materials in your stash, some fabrics, some zippers, whatever, and your zipper isn't quite long enough, you can create a little extension tab and still work with it just fine. Now I just placed that ribbon that I added, my little crochet lace ribbon trim that I found, and I just wanted to make sure it was away from my boxed corner. So I measured a little bit farther in from the edge, and I simply just top stitched it down to make this one piece of fabric, or look like one piece of fabric. So now the front part of my zipper pouch is ready to go, and it's really a simple construction. Front, back together, boxing the sides, adding our zipper, not in that order, and our zipper pouch is complete. Looks really cute as it is, but it really just gets kicked up a notch when you add that cute freestanding lace zipper pull. So you can see I've attached my 2 earring pieces together with a jump ring, and then I've attached the top heart to my zipper pull with another jump ring, and I just hot glued that little tiny bead to the bottom of the heart. And there you have it. Really rather simple, but looks amazingly impressive to whoever you gift this to, or you keep it for yourself. All right. Here is just a closer up image of that cute little zipper pull. And I love the little edging stitch along these particular freestanding lace earring designs. It's not a simple satin stitch. You can see it has like a braid effect almost to it, and it just really makes it look extra special. I've done a lot of freestanding lace, and a lot of designs just have a satin stitch along the edge. And while that may be beautiful, isn't it just such a difference when you have this kind of braided look to it? I just think these are stunning. They make great earrings. You can create a small pair of earrings with the small heart. That's the freebie for registering for that webcast. Not to mention you get the full video of Sheila Ryan taking you through this entire project. You can also just use the large part of the heart, or choose from any of the other 9 designs that you get with purchase of the kit for this. So if you did join us for the Lovely Earrings webcast, I encourage you to make some charms, some zipper pulls, put them inside of your handmade card even as a little additional gift. And who wouldn't love this? It would look so cute on a hoodie sweatshirt as well. Little heart zipper pull. Very, very cute. All right, let's see. Do they have anything for clip earrings? So interesting question. Actually, when we were sourcing the earrings hardware for the kit for the Lovely Earrings webcast, I did actually see some clip-on earring hardware. So you might even be able to find, they're sort of like blanks for earrings in the jewelry making department of your craft store, fabric store, what have you. You might look there to see if some clip-on earring hardware, and you can add the freestanding lace charms to that. That way you can clip them on and wear them and not have that problem. So give that a go, definitely. All right. Yes, and Esther says the zipper tab reduces the bulk at the seam and keeps the zipper flat. Yes. All right. Okay. Yes, lots of info today. I wasn't kidding. Speaking of that, let's get to the next project. All right, so I'm going to take you back to cards. As I mentioned, I'm going to give you like super simple card, which we just discussed. Then we're going to go up sort of in equipment, right? So if we have embroidery machines, if we are the lucky people to have embroidery machines, another really great project that we have at sulky.com is called hand-lettered quilting postcards. Now, we worked with Carly Porter, who is a very well-known quilter in the free motion world mostly, but she also does computerized designs of her artwork. She's very, very talented. She did a webcast with us on these postcards, oh man, quite a few years ago. And I love the designs that she created. And we actually have a limited edition kit for these postcards that we like to bring out around Valentine's Day because they make such great stitched gifts. Now, don't be confused when you hear hand-lettered postcard. We don't have to do the hand lettering. it's all done for us and digitized for our embroidery machines. She also did a version for hand embroidery. So if you don't have an embroidery machine, I will show you how to get the same look or a similar look with hand embroidery. So first off, here is a little collection of the postcard designs that she presented during our webcast. If you grab up this limited edition kit, you will get her book on hand lettered quilting, you'll get stabilizer, you'll get some threads so that you can create a slew of postcards. Also, you will get a little voucher so that you can go to her website and choose from these or other postcard designs to use in your embroidery machine. Are these adorable or what? They are sized, I believe, for a 5x7 hoop or larger, and it makes the perfect card size, right? So here's what that kit looks like. Her book, Hand Lettered Quilting, is included, a pack of embroidery needles, a couple of spools of thread, which are really great springy colors, and some Cutaway Plus stabilizer. She likes to use Cutaway Plus because she is stitching these on fabric only. So the Cutaway Plus kind of acts like that cardstock texture or weight, if you will. So it gives the postcard some nice body to it. And then you can ship it off in an envelope if you wish, or just include it with a gift for someone. And these are great for any time of year. It doesn't have to be Valentine's Day, of course. I just think around Valentine's Day is when we probably give and receive the most cards out of any holiday, but I could be wrong. It's probably a birthday. All right, so that's what the kit looks like for this. And for the webcast, we really focused on this particular design. Do small things with great love, but you could also, again, choose from these other postcard drawings or postcard designs. Once you get your kit, you'll get that voucher so you can choose a number of postcard designs that you want to create. All right, so these are, again, done in the hoop of your embroidery machine, and you basically create your quilt sandwich with your background fabric, background for the stitching, batting, and your Cutaway Plus. That's what you're going to embroider on. Then when your embroidery is complete, you trim your piece about 1/8 of an inch beyond that outer stitching line, and then you're going to add another layer of batting and another layer of fabric behind it. So you really have a good sandwich going on. And this is so that outer layer of fabric and the extra layer of batting is so that you can use a Sharpie and you can actually write on your background fabric your message, or just sign your name, or I love you very much, whatever message you want to put, you can actually write with a Sharpie on the background fabric and it won't bleed through to your beautiful embroidery. Now, of course, you don't have to write on that fabric at all. You can use a print fabric and just gift it as is. It would look really pretty in a frame, or you can bind it like a small little wall hanging and gift it to somebody that way as well. You can also do multiples in the same hoop, or you can add the batting and extra backing to multiples, kind of abutting them rather close together to conserve fabric, stitch around them, and kind of assembly line style, create a lot of these in the same amount of time. So you can see you can just cut right up against about 1/8 of an inch away from the outer stitching line through all layers. And then you can finish it in a couple different ways. So during our webcast, Carly finished these with a very, very tight satin stitch around the entire edge. And she used the contrasting color stitching so that it was a pop of color along the outer edge. I think it ends up looking really pretty. You can also round the corners if you want to, so that you have an easier, way to sew around your satin stitched edge. Or you can do a really narrow binding around these. And again, create it almost like you were finishing up a wall hanging. All right, so if you don't have an embroidery machine, I mentioned, Carly also took us through how to create these with handwork. So you would print the designs onto a sheet of Sulky Stick and Stitch Stabilizer. This is our water-soluble, printable, fabric-like stabilizer that has a paper release sheet on it. So after you have printed onto it, it becomes a sticker. You remove the paper backing, stick the design onto the fabric right side, and then you'll do your hand embroidery through all layers, through the stabilizer, through your backing fabric. A hoop is really great for this because these are such intricate designs. I mean, I guess I really shouldn't say intricate, but there are a lot of stitching points, okay? So here we've got our sticker stuck to the right side of the fabric, and you will simply begin sewing through it with your hand needle. You could also do free motion stitching. If you would like to free motion embroider over this in this layer, you would hoop it a little bit differently so that your hoop is basically backwards from this. And then you'll insert your hoop underneath your spring-loaded presser foot, and you can do your free motion embroidery by following this pattern as well. If you are doing handwork, you'll want to use the 12-weight cotton petites thread. One strand of this thread is equal to 2 strands of traditional embroidery floss. So you get really great coverage for these, thicker portions of design, satin stitches for fill areas with just 1 strand. You can also use 2 strands, which would then equal 4 strands of traditional floss. Plus it comes on a spool, so it keeps things nice and tidy for you. So you can just stitch along those lines. You can do whatever embroidery stitches you love. You can just do a back stitch along all of the outer lines. You don't have to do any fill stitches, and it would still be really, really pretty. Once your stitching is complete, you'll rinse this away just like we did with our Fabri-Solvi. Under some warm running water. I like to use my kitchen hose spray because it has better water pressure than just, a typical faucet. And you can spray all of that stabilizer away from the fabric. When it's all dissolved, then you can let it dry flat and give it a little bit of a press from the wrong side. Sometimes too, when I'm working on something like this that utilizes a little bit more of the stick and stitch, it's not a small design where I can just rinse it away rather easily. I will finish the fabric edges just with a little zigzag or even serge finish the edges, and then I'll throw it in my washing machine on a rinse and spin cycle, and all of the stabilizer rinses away. So that's just another tip. If you're working on something a little bit larger, that's a much easier way of getting rid of the stabilizer, rinsing it away. All right. Now we're on to yet another card. So we've got our postcards that are made out of fabric, batting, and we can add quilting if we want. We've got our easy stitched card. And now we're going to stitch directly onto the cardstock. So this is a card collection that comes with our embroidery session that we did with Designs by Juju last year. And she provided all 6 of these designs for free with purchase of that embroidery session. These are all really springy. There's a birthday card. There's a Happy Easter card. You could use a little floral design or the hello design for Valentine's Day. This is really a multi-purpose collection that you can use for a lot of different holidays and gifts. These designs, some of them are sewn or embroidered directly onto cardstock, whereas some are embroidered onto felty, and then the cardstock is added behind it to give it a pop of color and then to add it to the cardstock backing. So if you want to learn how and why and which design is done on felty versus the cardstock and all of Julie's tips for embroidering on cardstock, you'll definitely want to sign up for that embroidery session, get all of the videos, get this entire design collection for free with purchase of that event. It's all on demand, ready for viewing at any time. You can go through all of the videos at once or just concentrate on the type of card that you want to create. It's an excellent resource that I think you'll really enjoy. So all 6 of these cards, this is the floral card I was talking about. This one has a little bit more dense stitches. You could see the satin stitches along the outer edges of those flowers. So this one is done on felty and then applied to the cardstock. This one is embroidered directly onto the cardstock, and you can see the difference. You can embroider this on cardstock because the stitches are farther apart, like I mentioned earlier, so that the cardstock doesn't perforate with all of the needle penetrations. It is all line art style, so there are not satin fill stitches that would also perforate the cardstock. So this is digitized specifically for the greeting card application. So cute. So this is just an in-progress shot of one of the cards being stitched with the felty and cardstock attached. And then if you are embroidering, obviously you're going to have the backing is going to look similar to this, right? Well, we want to cover that up, make it prettier. So what Julie likes to do is she has this foundation card, and then she has a colorful lighter weight cardstock over the top, trimmed a little bit. And then our embroidered piece is trimmed a little bit further. It's almost like a mat in a picture frame, right? And then she applies this double-sided tape and puts the pretty embroidery onto the card. So you could do a postcard style, or you could do a folded piece of cardstock as well. So very, very cute designs. Loved collaborating with her on this one. As always, she provides the most in-depth tutorials. She is so helpful and organized, and her designs are very thoughtfully digitized for the particular project at hand. So I think you'll really enjoy this collection, which again, you get absolutely for free just by signing up for that embroidery sewing session. So you get all videos from Julie teaching you this step by step, and then you can work your way through your own cards. So that's just, a sampling of all the different cards you can make and ways to get creative to give nice, heartfelt, handwritten gifts and notes and sentiments to your friends and family for Valentine's Day and beyond. All right. And yes, Claudia, stabilizer is also involved. You'll get all of that information in that embroidery sewing session. She uses stabilizer. Sometimes she will layer the felty with cardstock. Sometimes the felty is done alone. Sometimes the cardstock is done alone. So there's a lot of different ways to skin that cat, if you will, and learn how to create lots of different cards in lots of different ways. But yes, there is stabilizer involved in all 3 applications. All right, Colleen says, where do we go to sign up for the embroidery sewing session? All right, so at sewingonline.sulky.com, that is our education platform. You can head there, create an account, and you can start adding all kinds of events to your own personal library. You do have to register for the ones that you want separately. Some are free webcasts, like the lovely earrings that I mentioned that we use for our zipper pulls. Some are paid video casts, which is basically like a webcast, but there is video instruction also involved. Our webcasts are a little bit more like this, but just more in depth than what we can cover on a So What episode. And then video casts have a 3-camera setup so that you can see what's going on as well. And we go over the most difficult parts of the pattern or project, etc. That's a video cast. And those are both live streamed events. Our sessions are these longer format, self-guided, on-demand events where there's no end date, there's no live event that you have to, rearrange your schedule for. You can simply sign up, and then when the content is available for you, or when it drops, as we say, you have access to it for all time. It never expires, and you can watch all the videos whenever you like. You can grab your design files whenever you like. So if you've lost where you put them in your computer and next year you want to create that Happy Easter card that you remember so fondly, you can go back into sewingonline.sulky.com and grab up those files again if you need to. They're always there stored in your personal library. So you'll head to sewingonline.sulky.com, go to Education Offerings, which is at the top of the screen, and then you will see the sessions, the videocasts, the webcasts, and you can pick and choose and register for those. So you'll find the embroidered greeting cards session. You'll also find our wall hanging session, which is also with Designs by Juju. You can sign up for both of those at the same time if you wish. And you can check out all of our other offerings there and just load up your personal library with all kinds of Sulky education, fun projects, patterns, all kinds of things. All right, let's see. Esther is asking, where did you find the rod that your quilt is hanging from? All right, so funny story, Esther. I actually found this at IKEA, and it's a knife block. It's a magnetic knife block. And I actually have 4 of them. You're just seeing 3 right here, but I have a 4th over here, and I just butted up the ends together and put them along my wall. And then I found these magnetic clips that they also had at IKEA. And so I can clip things like quilts and wall hangings and all kinds of things behind me, swap out my decor whenever I want, and it's all magnetic and fantastic. So that's what I did there. All right, let's see. Anastasia says the library option is so nice. I just finished a table runner from the chocolate heart design. Nice. Love that. Let's see. Would putting these designs directly on standard colored felt work? Can you elaborate? I'm not sure what you mean by standard colored felt. Like, do you mean on a colored background rather than like the white that you were seeing? If that's what you mean, you could certainly choose a color of felty rather than using the white felt. It's just a little bit harder to see the detail of the stitching depending on your color choices of thread. So that is up to you as well. All right, let me see. Can you use that KK2000 spray on your layers of quilting instead of using pins to quilt? That way you don't have to worry about pins. Great question, Noreen. And yes, that is actually the main, or it was the main function of the KK2000 temporary spray adhesive, was to spray-based quilts. And now we've, been using it for in the hoop projects and so many machine embroidery projects that's really, what I use it most for. But anytime I'm going to baste a quilt, a placemat, a table runner, I always use KK2000. And then if I'm doing a larger quilt like the one behind me, I'll spray it in sections, get everything nice and flat, and then I will add a few pins here and there just for some extra security if I'm working with a larger piece like the quilt behind me. Also, KK2000 is air soluble. This means it's going to dissipate into the air after about 48 to 72 hours. So if you're not going to finish quilting your piece within that time frame, you can either roll it up or fold it up and put it in a big plastic bag, which will prevent it from dissipating into the air, or you can pin baste, and then when you go back, you can kind of fold back the pieces of the quilt that you haven't finished and spray them again. But I would add some extra pins in those cases if you're not going to finish all of your quilting in one fell swoop or within that 72-hour time frame. Just know that it will dissipate in the air, which is also another bonus for using it versus some competitors' products out there that, stay tacky over, basically until you wash it. So just so you know. All right. Really appreciate having the library so that I can return whenever I want. Same. I love that. Esther says, love giving handmade cards. Cards are so fun to make. Fantastic. All right. Made lots of cards with designs by Juju Designs. Love giving them. Fantastic. The cactuses are very cute. All right. Tracy says, I signed up for this event and I forgot about it. So glad that I can go back and watch it now. Yes, as always. And, you know, if you join us for a webcast and you have to step away for a minute, you can always go back after the live event ends and rewind, pause, fast forward, all of that to catch anything that you might have missed. Or if you purchased a kit but it didn't arrive in time for the event, you can always go back once your kit arrives and walk through everything while you have your materials right in front of you. So it really, really is a best-in-class experience for your sewing, quilting, crafting education, if I may say so. It really, really is. And I've seen a lot and I've, you know, researched a lot of what's out there. And I really, really love the platform that Sulky is using and how it works and how we can present to you all different ways of consuming different content. So you can do a live stream, you can do a video cast, you can do a session where you get lots more videos to refer to. You can talk to a sewing celebrity or a pattern designer, or, you know, you can have a self-guided video sew along. So there's all kinds of different videos available there based on the way that you like to learn and, you know, refer to and all kinds of things. And definitely check out the ones that have freebies. Usually there's a freebie associated with basically everything out there. So check those out as well. It's really, really great resource. Okay. Tracy says it is a really great platform. Thank you for it. And I always have to go back and watch. All right. Fantastic. I'm glad it's working for all of you. Thank you for the feedback. Okay. What is the name for the backing for the cards? So for most of these cards, with the exception of that postcard that was done all in fabric and stabilizer, we used a pretty thin weight cardstock. You can find lots of different weights of cardstock, and depending on if you're going to do an applique that just has a blanket stitch around it, or if you're going to do a full embroidery design that has lots of needle penetrations, that's going to depend on the thickness of cardstock that you want to go for. But, you know, quite honestly, you could even buy a pack of blank cards at Hobby Lobby, Joann Fabrics, you know, Michael's, a store like this, arts and crafts store, and you can start with that, do some tests, very low investment. When you buy, you know, a pack of 10 of those, it'll give you a lot of, you know, options for practicing and finding out what works best for the technique that you're using for your cards. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me today on So What. I hope that you are inspired to go create some handmade Valentines so that you can be ready for Valentine's Day next week. Definitely join me on Tuesday for another So What, and that is also the day that our 3D wall hanging session will be available for viewing. So I'm so excited to see everybody's wall hangings and to hear how you love it. This wall hanging gets its structure and, you know, staying power with the help of Sulky Puffy Foam, which is another great product that I don't talk about enough. So I hope that you will all enjoy this. Grab up a kit while the kits are on sale, because they will only be on sale until the day of the event. So make sure that if you're interested in a kit, you grab one up so that you can have all those great Riley Blake fabrics, the puffy foam, the Fabrisolvi, and look at all those beautiful Sulky threads that you will also get. Included is also the buttons and ribbons that you need to kind of create your wall hanging and make sure that it hangs nicely. All right, so I will see you all next Tuesday for another So What. Have a creative week and go create some Valentines.